Hi again guys, and welcome to the very first tune setup for the 1.29 update for November in GT Sport. And what better place to start than with the, you could say, fastest car of the track, but probably not really compared to the Super GT cars. Maybe quicker than them in a straight line, but either way, it's a very quick car, the Pagani Zonda R. Now, of course, this is in Group X, so typically I wouldn't really focus in on doing tunes for a car like that, but it is very popular, it's very quick, so we're just covering the bases with this build. Now, the primary purpose of this tune is as, surprise, surprise, a track car, and it's predominantly about the cornering speed and cornering ability. Now, I will say, before we get into the minutiae of the tune, this is not a beginner-friendly setup or a beginner-friendly car. To some degree, you can never make this a beginner-friendly car in a similar way to the Vulcan. They're just not beginner-friendly cars. They are hardcore, track-biased, professional machines. So, as far as the upgrades themselves, I tested this one on the Nordschleife, and I'll show you that lap in a second. You can actually watch the full lap on my community page, but I'll show you just a brief snippet of it. And it's running stock power and weight, because I wanted specifically to see how it would measure up to the real world record of the actual Zonda R, which was a 6:47 lap. So we'll prove that in just a second how it compares. Stock power and weight though, traction control, as you can see, I've got turned completely off. That will depend on you. As I said, it is kind of a pro car, so most drivers probably won't use it. If though you want to give yourself more of a challenge and learn to use a car like this, then you could have it on, say, 1 or 2, something like that if you wanted to. We've got it on racing hards. Again, of course, softs will be even quicker, mediums as well. But again, I wanted to show what it could do, and my lap record was with hards also. As far as the suspension, we've got the ride height on 70mm and 85mm on the back. Then as far as the frequency, 3, then 6 for anti-roll, 57 on the compression side of the dampers, then with 85 on the rebound, 1 degree of camber. You could change that up for this car, it does definitely help. And as far as tow, that is neutral, as I often do. Downforce I'm running as much as possible because again it is predominantly a cornering machine, and even with stock power and weight you can still get it up around 190, 195 pretty comfortably anyway. As far as the diff, I've opted for the highest initial torque and the lowest settings for both acceleration and braking. That's pretty much perfect for me, but of course it will vary from driver to driver. And as far as the gearbox, we've got an auto setting of 224, then for the individual gears 2.1, 1.6, 1250, 1, 850, 750, and then 3.9 on the final drive. So if of course you give it more or less power, you will need to adjust those slightly. But as far as anything close to the stock power, you should be okay with that. So that's it for the tune. Of course, there's tons of room for personal style, personal variation, but what you want to see is what this car looks like in action, and also how it compares to the actual car's lap. Now, to get to that lap time first of all, of course it will vary from driver to driver, but for me, with stock power, stock weight, automatic gearbox, no traction control, ABS on 1, and using a controller, I did a 6:35, so 12 seconds quicker than the real world record for this car. So not too shabby, given that it's got the same numbers as that car, but we've just changed the settings themselves. So in terms of what it's capable of, well, it's capable of quite a bit, especially for something that is technically not actually a race car. Now, don't expect this to destroy everything, because there are definitely cars with less power that can still take the heat against something like this. Even something like a Porsche 911 RSR, for instance, is surprisingly quick in comparison to it. But if you do decide to use it, I hope you have a ton of fun with the tune. As far as actually using the tune, I would recommend very careful control of both throttle and braking. Don't slam on the brakes, don't slam on the throttle, ease onto the brakes, ease onto the throttle, especially of course exiting corners, because it's not just about wheel spin, the car has a tendency to just bounce around on the red line, so of course you're pretty much just wasting time doing that. So of course it's down to you if you use a manual gearbox or throttle control. Either way it gets the job done. So if you do decide to use this tune, I hope you have a ton of fun with it, and you can click right here on screen to see loads of my other GT Sport tunes as well. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.